What's going on, guys? Today we're going to do a state of the game address. Now, about 6 months ago or so, we got a roadmap for the first half of 2021 with the changes they planned on making. Awesome, right? We're going to look at that, and we're also going to look at the parts of the game that exist right now, where they stand for any player. Not every player, not each player, but any player. And what they could be doing for the second part of the roadmap. Eventually, they'll release the roadmap part 2. We'll address it. First, I want to start by looking at the roadmap itself. New features, costumes, they've added them to the game. I don't think I have to go out of my way to discuss costumes with you guys, but they're a little bit of a miss. The events for costumes, I think, are absolutely phenomenal. They're a fun way to engage players in a game to get a cool little trinket. The fact that they don't really do anything makes them okay to miss, and therefore it's just content. So if you like costumes, you're in for them. That's fine. They miss that they hit on the costumes was with the pricing and the cost relative to what you get. So it doesn't matter, I've said many times, it doesn't matter if they charge $1,000 for a costume because they don't do anything. So their price is kind of irrelevant. The other side of that is they're a business, right? They want to make money. So charging the amount of money they're charging for very lackluster costumes is such a miss that I don't think they understand fundamentally why people buy costumes. They buy costumes because they care about the characters. They buy costumes because they like how it looks or changes the feel, and they buy costumes to stand out. And Captain Marvel, God bless her, not a character that I need to stand out with. Elektra, Deadpool, not a character I need to stand out. More characters that have stealth have costumes right now than not, which is kind of funny, or Farmly. So like that's kind of funny. The fact that costume cores and energy are purchasable, that's kind of silly because, again, I'm not using CM anywhere, so I'm not showing off. I'm not going into RTA with my CM. Someone might be, but nobody who plans on winning is making those decisions, you know? So because of that, it's also very unlikely people are buying the costume. Now, I might like Captain Marvel as a character, or Vision, but at the end of the day, I need to use the character in order to feel like customizing them is relevant. Take games like League of Legends as an example. This game misses that. Like, it doesn't get it. Cyclops costume looks great. Daredevil's costume right here looks great. Why didn't we get that with the Elektra costume? You know, when the height of the Shadowlands team being reworked. These are things that just show that they don't know what they're doing as far as selling things that players want. You can look at League of Legends. You don't buy costumes for characters you don't play. You buy costumes for characters you play, and you get to see them, and other people get to see them. And in other games where costumes are, like Warframe, where costumes and changes and color palettes showcase you buy them and apply them how you want to characters you like. So costumes, the downside to costumes is they kind of miss the mark on what the point of costumes are in a game like this. The upside is that they've engaged more content and more reasons to play if you're interested in them. So it's like, overall, they've addressed costumes, they put them out. They're not great, they're not terrible, they're super middle of the line, and that's the best we can hope from this company. ISO 8 Tier 2 was previewed in this conversation. They discussed Tier 2 crystals and Doom raids. They discussed a lot of stuff. We got this, right? And ISO 8 Tier 2s look great. Again, with a near miss. The inclusion of ISO 8 Tier 2s are phenomenal for characters, for building, for the game. But everything surrounding them, how to get them, where they are, how important they are, and more importantly, how ISOs have become, could have been mentioned here in the roadmap for the next 6 months to prevent players from being as livid as they are when this kind of stuff seemingly dropped on their lap, especially when you lose progression because things you were able to do, you're no longer able to do. So the ISO 8 tier 2s, again, came out and are good, but due to a lack of competence from the company, we have a real problem with their ability to take good things and make them actually appear good. We basically just have good things that feel bad. I always liken it to pulling a 7 red star Kingpin. It is the worst possible outcome of the best possible outcome. And I use Kingpin as an example. Fill in the blank with whatever character you think is a useless 7 red star, and now you have the information. So they missing the mark is kind of like, at this point they're like the reverse Hawkeye, you know, they never hit. Strike Pass. Again, I think the Strike Pass is a phenomenal addition to the game. It's another additional way to get more resources for playing the game, and as you play the game, you don't have to play much more than the bare minimum, quote unquote, in order to progress your Strike Pass. It added a new way to get characters into the game. It's a great thing. Battle Passes, generally speaking, for any game, are really, really good, and I support them. Again, we now have all of these cool things I just mentioned and all of the things they brought up here, and now we gated a new character behind them. And that's not the way players use Strike Passes. You know what I mean? Like, players use Strike Passes to progress, not to unlock. So when they put Polaris as an unlock in the Strike Pass, they once again missed the mark of why. They were doing great at the beginning when they were throwing in random characters, and even now, like, Strike Pass is a great way to put characters that have just been released as a way for players who might have missed the Blitz or something like that to get a couple more shards. And with the monetization price on it, I'm not going to go into price on them, but with the monetization part of the Strike Pass, at least it incentivizes you to get a little bit more. If I were to make a change, I think that the paid version of the Strike Pass stays the same, but I think the free version of the Strike Pass reward should be tripled. And the reason why, except character shards, and the reason why is what everybody gets should be better, and what you spend money on should be more shiny, like the character shards. So if you keep the character shards the same at the bottom, but increase the gear and everything, then the top part of the Strike Pass would lock into the character and extra resources that you would pay for. But then again, they'd probably have to look at the price, which they never do anyway. They just pick random numbers out of a hat. I don't think Strike Pass inherently was a problem. I think, again, how they're using it was a mistake. Exclusive original character. Improvements. Save squad tabs. Yes, we have like 40 now. Great. They finally did it. The problem is they haven't quite kicked over the second part of the save squad tabs, right? The second part of the save squad tabs was the part where we as players would be able to actually use them, the one that's in the roster. And we don't have that. They're a little laggy now. They, as you saw earlier, if you watched my stream, picking a team for war is a chore based on optimization and device, which is a problem with the application, not the device. The game has to be optimized for multiple devices, not one device, which has ended up being why iPhone users tend to have a better experience, because all iPhones run the exact same way and Androids are all over the place. Anyway, they did increase the save squad tabs. There's actually nothing negative I could say about this, but they haven't finished the update to make the save squad experience and moving into the game. So we have more save squads. They're doing this, but we haven't gotten this yet, and this is the roadmap for part 1. So this is undelivered. This is a deliverable that remains undelivered. They have 4 days to get it out, so let's see what they do. Raid season milestone rewards. So they updated the raid season milestones, which were great, right? The updates were great because they gave us more milestones with the addition of Doom raids. That was great. There's more stuff, right? Before, everybody had the same number of milestones, and most people hit all of the milestones in a couple of days during the week, like 1 or 2, maybe 3 days. All milestones were done. They added more to raise the roof, and people could get more rewards. It also gives you something to strive for, something to push for. Totally fine. And then they put Silver Surfer shards in there and gated him behind the hardest content, that people couldn't do. And then, of course, they changed the hardest content to make it harder for even more people to do. So, again, the raid season milestone change, super big, super huge, and very positive. And then how they implemented it and what they did with it shows that they don't understand how to make a game. Raid key tracking. I'm not an alliance leader, but I haven't noticed any changes to QOL for alliance management. You can comment below and let me know if you have. But as far as I'm concerned, this is unaddressed because I haven't noticed anything on it. But that doesn't mean it isn't. And if it is, great. You know, small part of the community cares about this. So if they got it, great. And if they haven't, it sucks. I don't know what to say. Red stars for Ultron. I'm pretty confident, right, that we all thought red stars on Ultron was going to be slightly better than what we got. So they did give us red stars on Ultron with a brand new system of unlocking red stars that costs way more than we want. Doesn't give us nearly as much for the time and effort that it takes to accrue them, or the money, depending on where you are. And of course, is a shared currency with probably, you know, Doctor Doom, and for anyone who's buying Ultimate Shards. So it's great. But then they changed how you accrue the black or the dark promo credits to be when you want to open red stars, you get less. But when you open red stars, generally speaking, when you shouldn't be, or when there's not a boosted character, you're losing out. So red stars on Ultron has happened. They've delivered it. It just turns out that they gave us 3 instead of the possible maximum we can. The cost is prohibitive, and Ultron doesn't really matter that much anymore. So they missed the boat, but they did it. How mad can you be? API. Yeah, I'm sure something's happening with MSF.gg and the API. They made an announcement. Valley did a video about 3.5 months ago. We were talking about it. There was a login. There was a button to press. I remember doing all that. So, is there an API right now? Can everybody as a player send their data directly to MSF.gg? Everybody, not anybody, everybody. Is it active? We're progressing the alpha test in the near future. Whatever. They said that they were going to progress it. They progressed it. No big deal. Under review. Alliance War. Here we go. Because this is the stuff that they said they're looking at but aren't doing. Alliance War. They are almost ready to roll out the Alliance War changes. And from everything I've seen, I mean, I guess they're positive for the most competitive alliances. So if you're in, if you are in a alliance that finishes top 100 in every raid season or war season, this changes might be for you from what I've seen. Everybody else, if you're not a top 100, then you're not the most competitive. You're just trying really hard to be competitive. And these changes are just going to be more costs for you. You're going to have to spend more resources. Again, I don't have any of the official changes. We'll talk about them as we go. But so far, the Alliance War changes don't look like they're improving the quality of gameplay in the mode. They look like they're targeting it to a very specific type of player, which wouldn't have a problem if there wasn't an incredibly important amount of resources that come with success or failure in Alliance War. Real-time arena sucks, has sucked, will sucked. They've changed it multiple times. It sucks less than it did before, which sucked less than it did before. But once it sucks, it always sucks until it stops sucking. And right now, real-time arena sucks. Unless you want to see the new shiny, it's basically an advertisement. Hey, who wants to fight the Infinity Watch this week? Who wants to fight another team next week? Like, it's hard to progress the game when everyone's showcasing what they just spent money on, and most people just leave. Like, if I'm in a fight and I'm trying to progress my dailies in RTA and you're showing me Infinity Watch, I'm quitting. I don't have the time. I'm not getting 2 energy. Like, I don't want to do it. So you could do your fight, but I'm not watching it, you know? And I won't remember your name. And then we have the summary, which is nothing. So let's get out of this. So let's look at the game itself, and starting from the left and moving on. Let's look at Arena, right? The state of Arena right now. I actually don't think there's inherently a problem with Arena, as I just go and click auto on a random fight. Sure, this one looks like it's autoable. I don't think that there's a problem with Arena. I think Arena has reached a meta shift, right? We got a brand new team that's good for Arena. Previously, with the introduction of characters like Surfer and Kestrel, the Arena meta kind of went all over the place. I don't think there's anything wrong with Arena. And again, now keep in mind, I'm speaking of end game Arena. Because the Arena you experience is either endgame arena or not quite endgame arena. A player playing for 3 months might only see 1 Atom, 0 to 1 Atom Warlocks. Well, actually, no Atom Warlocks. But a player playing for that long might not see that. So their arena meta might be like, oh, the guy at the top has a Black Bolt already. He's great. Like, yeah, okay, that's very possible. But that's not the meta. That's the growth. Like, you don't have a build for a character in an MMO, at level 20. You have a max level build for a character. So it really doesn't matter what your spec, what your build is before you reach endgame or max level. What matters is what happens at max level. And whether you are succeeding or failing in arena early depends on how quickly you're able to get whatever the new shiny thing. So as far as arena's gameplay is concerned, nothing bad or good has happened. I'm happy that the Black Order has been moved out of arena, mainly because the Black Order wasn't really that good towards the last 4 months, we'll say, but people still kept investing in them, and it probably made a lot of people make mistakes. Infinity Watch is really good in arena and will be for the next, I'm going to say conservatively, 6 months. So for the next 6 months, Infinity Watch seems like a really good in arena investment. And if you have them, go in now, don't wait, and if you get them in the next pass or so, work on them then. But they're going to get diminishing returns. That's the way the game plays. It's going to keep going up and down. We'll see how it works. There is a downside to arena, though. They did address some of the issues that we were having with, like, sniping and stuff like that. But ultimately, arena fixing is and will always be a thing in this game. So there will always be somebody in this game who's capable of, like, talking with other high spenders or high arena people and locking others out of the arena. And by that, I mean doing 0 arena attacks because they're all in the spot they want and only using their arena attacks to kick somebody who they didn't decide out of top 5, 10, 15, 20. That is a common occurrence in these kind of games. It's nothing you can actually control. Slingshotting is always going to be a thing. The only way you could ever change slingshotting is that if you are in combat to prevent somebody else from fighting, not if the person they're fighting. But even then, that would be easy enough for you to just kind of sandbag. In the last 5 minutes, you would just start a fight and then no one could take your slot. It's not great. There's not really a way to address that. So arena just is what it is. I consider Arena to be the most overhyped game mode in Marvel Strike Force, because while other games, Arena gives you the value of bonus cores for victory and progressing your way up, I can honestly say that cores are worth less in Marvel Strike Force than any in-game currency in any other game I play. Genshin Impact, Marvel Future Revolution, My Hero Academia, like Dragon Champions, like the general, like, you can do anything you want with cores. The problem is that costs too much and what you get is nothing. So if what cores cost was less, if it was 25 cores to refresh a node instead of 50, the amount of cores we get right now are great. We're not getting enough cores to justify the cost of cores in this game, which is why I don't think Arena is as relevant, because realistically, every time you fight up a rank, you get 50 more a day over the course of the week. If you are holding 1 rank higher than you were, that's 50 times 7, 350 extra cores, or roughly $4.99. So over the course of a month, it's like, do you want to work really hard and keep your arena up, or do you want to spend $20? And of course, that number changes, right? If you can hold top 1 or 5, or if you're in a group, then that's fine. But I don't think there's many changes that Arena can undergo. So Arena is just a constantly shifting meta of whatever the newest thing is. Such as life, you could probably punch up or down with whatever you're doing. I'm beating so-and-so with what's it called, and I do this with this, and I don't care, no one cares. Arena doesn't matter. Moving to the milestones, there's no major changes to the milestones, and they're fine. They could use a little sprucing up. It's, maybe a little bit more of the resources that they give. Not all of them. The cores are fine. Obviously, we could take more of anything. But a little bit more orange gear raid orbs. Maybe a hair less blue gear raid orbs. Like maybe we can, like, replace a couple of them with more orange gear, or more of the gear credits. Blue gear is becoming less and less of an issue for players, and the milestones do help players get them with blue gear herbs, but there does come diminishing return point where you'll just have more than you need, and that's true of a lot of things. So I think the purple gear and the orange gear is really more of the focus. They can afford to maybe tweak some of these a little bit and make them more player positive, not for players who are at endgame necessarily, but for players who are progressing through. That's pretty much it for that. The campaign energy one, same rules apply. You know, like maybe you can afford to spruce them up a little bit. And I really don't want to even go into World Warrior. World Warrior, I think, recently did have a little bit of a pass-through. But if they just did one pass, and if they increase the reward structure by about 25%, it's a nice big boost to the entire game from that. And then the casual milestones that come up as you play the game, not a big deal. Like, these are fine. There's nothing to criticize. Sometimes they have events that are good milestones. Sometimes they have events that are terrible. You can't really control it. Speaking of events... just to go in there, we're getting more events. We're getting more frequent events. We have more events. So, there's really nothing I could say about them. Campaigns happen every patch. You know, we have these kind of character events from costumes that I mentioned earlier. They give a lot of extra resources. It keeps the engagement up and keeps me playing. There's really no criticism as far I have regarding the event structure of the game. They seem to be okay, and you have to take them as a hit or miss basis with most events. Some events are just great. Some events are just terrible. There's not really much you can do about it. Now we move to campaigns. So, the good news is, they've added some more campaigns in the last 6 months. They will be adding some more campaigns. And they update what characters are in campaigns in a fairly relatively quick, whatever, decent fashion. The problem is, time progresses in a linear fashion. Tomorrow is going to be later than today, which is later than yesterday was. So the things that used to be relevant, and I'm just going to go ahead and show something like this. Aren't. It's cool that you've moved Magneto here a while ago, right? I'm sorry, Mysterio here a while ago. But at the end of the day, he's still a year 2 character, you know? And Yondu's a year 1 character. And players will want to progress certain characters, right? For whether it be for an unlock or to fill out the roster or to complete some later game mode. And the first issue is, this is Heroes. This is as far as you can go before you're level 70, regardless of what you're working on or how much money you're spending. I actually did a Dolphin account and I had to quit because my progression on characters wasn't the problem. The progression in being able to complete stuff in the game was nightmarish. So, we have a couple of options on how we can address all of the campaigns. The first option, and you can use any or all of these, is let's start removing those stupid requirements that have levels on them. If a player can challenge a fight, let them challenge the fight. There's no reason to limit to level 70. Right? It doesn't exist. It doesn't have to exist. That's not something that needs to occur because you're gating the most important current stuff behind that. If it was just random things to work across, like this one is an example of a decent situation. You can farm him a little bit earlier. And Colossus isn't inherently necessary for anything in the game. So this one, it's okay to have the characters that aren't relevant behind a little bit of a wall. but the more relevant the character becomes, putting that wall behind them hurts progression by forcing players to work on subpar characters. If you're going to take that route and force characters to work on subpar characters, it's time to take a quick look at why this character is only giving 2 shards still. Hawkeye has been a launch character. He's been around since the day we all started playing this game. The game started being played. The fact that farming him still only gives you 2 character shards, or 0, obviously, per tick, it's not helping. It doesn't matter. Hawkeye's impact is very low into the game. Punisher's impact is very low into the game. So the other things, part 2, you can do is you can take any character that is at least year 1, like was released in year 1 on a node, or any node really that existed for that long, and double it. Just double it. Make it take half the time for players to achieve whatever they were looking for when it comes to farming Punisher, Hawkeye, Yondu, the Kree minions that are farmable. And let's go to villains. Villains has their own number. The mercenaries. Let players who are starting the game and players who have played the game for a while, but instead of farming subpar characters while waiting for you to rework them, they can justifiably start working on them and getting twice as much for their resources. I'm not even talking about the actual resource drops on the nodes. Obviously, you can go ahead and increase them, and I'm not going to complain, but older characters need to become more prolific. People need to be able to farm at the beginning of the game more stuff than they were. So, those are the 2 things I think you could do for campaigns. I'm not going to go into details on Doom War. Doom War is its own type of content that is supposed to reward people who've entered the end game. So I'll leave that on the own. But last little red herring here. I know you're making changes. You've announced them. You're doubling the amount of drops per. You're increasing the amount. There is one thing that I think needs to be done. Any node that doesn't have a picture, both in this and any campaign, any node without a picture cannot have a cap anymore. You are the only mobile game like this that does it. The only one. The only one. The only one. The only 5v5 strategy hero collector game that caps arbitrary nodes. Most games will cap the specialty nodes. You could do them 5 times a day, which is fair. The fact that I can only farm a specific gear node 10 times a day is a travesty, and it's long overdue that you fix that. That's something that should be done regardless of how it works. And it doesn't matter that anybody played that previously had to wait, because now all of those gear nodes and all of those, energy nodes, everybody benefits from it. It doesn't matter what people were like in the past. It matters what happens now. So that's something. But the changes to the ISOs, great. It's time to add more ISO campaigns. Probably start adding the blue ones. We know you don't want to because it'll make people spend less money and stop making it feel good. But yeah, we need to address this. So that's campaigns. We did arena, we did campaigns. Let's talk about Blitz. I used to love Blitz. It used to be my favorite game mode. It let me play with all of my characters. You let me utilize my roster to its fullest potential, and you let me be rewarded for using skill and strategy and power in combination to getting a really good score. In the process, you took the worst part of Blitz, which was the time aspect, and made it easier, but you made it so easy that instead of Blitz being a competition among the people who wanted it more versus the people who didn't, you've now made it easier to sim, auto, bot, cheat, do whatever. And now it rewards, instead of the players willing to play Blitz, it rewards the players with the highest power or the highest expenditure, keeping newer players from accessing a reasonable amount of shards and keeping existing players from actually progressing in the game mode. You killed Blitz by making one change that showed you didn't understand how Blitz was working. I don't like the idea that people were spending so much time that they were not sleeping at night. So I thought it was fine when you capped the Blitz to 8 a day. You know, instead of the, what was it, 11 I think you could do on average, maybe 12 if you got really lucky with timing. I didn't mind when you capped the Blitz to 8, because then the difference was who was willing to log in and do the Blitz. I didn't think it was an issue when you put Sim on, but that's when you should have removed the cap, right? That's the moment you should have removed the cap and allowed the separation to come up. You didn't do that. Now, as I said, you've never made a Blitz change that was positive for the game. You just tricked people into thinking it was, and I've always been very clear on that. Character shards don't matter. I cannot stress this enough. The only character shard that matters is the character shard that unlocks / stars up the character. 20 extra shards is less relevant. Your Blitz tiers should equate, in no joke and no doubt, to a full star count on a character. There's no reason why first place in a Blitz played on a global scale shouldn't be done with the character. Anyone who comes in first place in this Black Widow Blitz should have a 7-star Black Widow. Or you can take Blitz and move it to the Arena Shard and then just change nothing. Let the Arena Shard kind of bounce out with the current reward structure. Because again, shards, you evaluate shards at, if my math is correct, $1.50 a character shard, especially for new characters, maybe a little bit more. And players don't. Players evaluate shards at $0 unless they're missing 5 or 10, and then whatever they need to get those character shards. So just like, again, every other game who does this, this is a tower mode. You can just make this work. You can just make it release versions of characters. Hey, you get a 2-star unlock if you do this, or a 3-star unlock if you do this, or a 4-star unlock if you do this. I think Blitz isn't broken. I think it's, I'm sorry, I don't think Blitz is dead. I think it's a broken game mode, and it can be fixed. And at this point, I'm afraid to let you take another passive Blitz because I know you're done with it. And the reason I know you're done with Blitz is because you're done with RTA. So Blitz needs some help. You're not going to give it to everybody. These are the problems with Blitz. You need to address them. You're not going to. We're moving on. Alliance War is the illusion of competition. It's the selling a story that you as a player can be so good that you can beat somebody else. And all of the changes you're making to Alliance War are hammering that illusion down better. At the end of the day, what made Alliance War special when it was released, and for a very long time, was the unique changes players could make to their roster to create problems for other players. You lost the plot on this one. When you started selling Alliance War defense teams and Alliance War offense teams, you started creating characters that were only relevant in one game mode. You started creating half investment teams, or teams that were barely investable. And when you do that, you kill the game mode's enjoyment because people just need to solve the one problem. And they don't even have to solve the problem. I have to solve the problem. Remen has to solve the problem. Mobile Gamer has to solve the problem. Philosopher has to solve the problem. Somebody has to solve the problem, and then everybody has the problem solved. They just have to put together the tools. So previously, when it was like, hey, how do I beat this weird Ultron comp? You had to think about it and use your... And I know that a lot of players don't like to think, and that's fine. But you should reward people who think. You should reward people who spend, but you should also reward people who think. When wars started being about who could full clear as fast as possible, when wars were 10 hours, 8-hour full clears, that's when you lost the plot of war. Either remove the ability to buy extra attacks by increasing the amount of attacks you get every day to 12. Right? Like, you get 12, you don't buy extra attacks, you just buy them faster. Or balance out the cost of all of the war attack purchases. People who are going to spend. But there's a lot missing in this game mode, and I don't think any of your changes are going to be taken positively. I think that there are 2,400, 2,500 players, 2,600 players who enjoy war. I'm sorry, who enjoy competitive war. And that would be the top 100 alliances, and then maybe a handful of the next, the guys who are just under top 100 for war season. And I think war has been sucking the joy out of the game for everybody at every tier. Maybe it's matchmaking. I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. And with the changes you're making, I'm interested in seeing how matchmaking is going to alter that. You have the most important resources in this game banked right behind the game mode that requires you to rely on everybody else way more than anything. So the best you can do in a war is get your points. You can go 12 for 12 in a war and get your points, and you lose. And then you don't get much more. And you need to pay attention to war because most of the characters that are unlocked in the game end up with one special character in the arena store. Plus, it's the best way to get gold gear. It's the best way to get whatever the current. I'm sure when red gear comes out, it's going to be the best way to get that. You've gated the most. You're not allowing players the reward for succeeding in war. You are forcing players to play a game mode they don't like in order to get the rewards they need to succeed in game modes they actually do. Make wars twice a week. Or make wars once a day for 12 hours. Make them no different than raid. Doesn't matter. Do whatever. But something's got to give right now, and from everything we've heard about the changes so far, they're looking a little lackluster. I look to see how you're going to discuss them in the next point, but as far as I'm concerned, war is a dead game mode to me. You guys might enjoy it, but me, I'm going to click my buttons and walk away. It doesn't matter to me at all. Whatever resources I get in Platinum, I'll get. So that's war. I think, first of all, I think raids are fine. Maybe even good, right? In general. So I'm not going to criticize raids. Again, I don't think there's one issue with Doom Raid, and that's that there's 21 nodes per lane. So that means that one lane is going to have a player do 11 fights and another player do 10 fights. And that's too much. So either put a connection at some point in the raid or reduce the total number of nodes, because in Doom Raid, 2 lanes will have 3 players. That's fine. Nobody's gonna have a third option in whatever the third lane is, middle or not. And that's just a lot. That's just forcing players to spend resources and energy and be worse off for the next raid by doing this raid. It's poor design, so you should probably take a quick look at it. So that's it for Doom. Every other raid is fine because they all have a solution, right? And that solution is something you can work on. It's a, 6-week rotation, right? 2 weeks of a raid, then 2 weeks of a raid, then 2 weeks of a raid. So it's a 6-week rotation on the Greek raids. You have 6 weeks to make up for whatever you were lacking in the previous one. If you choose not to because you want to work on something else, that's your fault. That's on you. If you can't do... I don't like Gamma Raid next to the next guy. I hate Gamma Raid because I go up the middle lane and the middle lane sucks, which is part of an issue we'll talk about in a second. That said, some people don't like the outside lanes because they don't have a Wakandan / Pimtech team that they can work on. And I do. You know, I'm not supposed to be able to do every raid lane, obviously. You're supposed to be able to do your raid lane. But if nobody can do a raid lane, then it's its own problem. I don't really have a problem with that. You should work and be able to get there, right? You should be able to get there, not a problem. My issue, again, comes to how you guys rest on your laurels. Scopely, Foxnext, Boundless, whatever you want to call yourselves. Today, tomorrow. We'll give you some new name next month, right? Whatever you want to call yourself, you guys just... We did a change, right? We're not going to dress it for 6 months. Or 9 months. Or a year. You need to keep this going as long as it's current content. You have two options when it comes to developing content for a game. This is as a game developer. You can either update existing content with the time, or you can introduce a new part of content to overtake it. So, how long has Alpha Raid Slider been out? I believe it's been since February, but it might have been a little earlier. I don't remember. We've had the Raid Slider for a while. Nothing has changed regarding reward payout or effort. So, either you need to add a new difficulty or shake up the reward structure. I like shaking up the reward structure because it also allows newer and mid-game players a decent catch-up mechanic for doing the same thing they've been doing, but getting more for it. You gotta remember, guys, every time you add 5 levels to the game, you take 10 levels off the back end. So when the game started at 60, that was the best. Like, that was that we knew everything. When 65 became the cap, the first 10 levels and everything we got became useless because there was a new jump of gold, of resources. Now we're at 80. Legitimately, the first, 50 to 60 levels of the game are functionally useless in this game. Nothing that you accrue at the beginning, at that stage of the game, shy of spending money or getting lucky during an event starting, is of any consequence or relevance by the time you reach the end of the game. So because of that, we talked about how you should be giving more of the early stuff to players, or, Night Nurse should be a 4x drop instead of a 2x drop, standard. And when a double drop runs, it starts at 8. These are the things that good games would do. Good game developers and designers would do. You would make sure that the parts of the game that are no longer relevant give more or are easy to overtake so that the players can experience the version of the game that you are currently working on. So whoever's doing your backlog crew, whoever's writing the stuff for raids and campaigns and everything in the back, who's like, okay, when do we update this? Same guy who's probably talking about gold and increasing gold outcomes and stuff like that. Whoever that is, they need to work harder. Because it's time, it's cool that Doom Raid 1 came out, and yes, there is a point to doing scaling raids, but the truth of the matter is, it should be less and less and less and less and less likely for a player to need to do U6 every month that this game goes on. U6, the time a player should be stuck in U6 should be less and less as you add new endgame content. Previously, U6 was still important because U7 was the hard one. And when you added the slider, it became the same thing. Just different steps in the puzzle. Now that Doom Raid is the true endgame raids of the game, and they take the same gear as Ultimus raids, or the same currency to unlock, U6 needs to be completely jumped past. It's over. You can do it for a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, but you need to get players from the point where they are to entering U7 significantly faster without spending, because spending just accelerates that process. That's the flow of the game. So that's the biggest issues I have with raids. Other than that, as far as I'm concerned, raids are the best game mode in this game. Whoever's developing the actual fights on them is doing a good job. You're challenging. They're exciting. Have the guy who's doing the raids work on Dark Dimension a little bit more, because there's no way that guy had anything to do with Dark Dimension 3. Or girl. We talked about raid season milestones before, so there's no reason to go into that. One other thing, just to throw it out there. Oh, you know what? I'll save stores for later, because I got a lot to say about stores. Okay. Dark Dimension. You spend a lot of time and a lot of money developing a game mode that becomes ostensibly useless all the time. Some people like, hey, can we just get rewards for doing it every month? Okay, I agree, but I don't like the idea of just clearing Dark Dimension to get the same rewards. I think that's too many rewards to give out to too many people for something that becomes less challenging over time. And I don't think there's a fair balance you can make to get an amount that's low enough that it's worth that, or high enough that it's worth doing, but low enough that it doesn't imbalance the game in one way or another. What I would like to recommend, though, is if instead, and this should be relatively easy for you guys, I know you're not good at developing games in Unity. I know that. I play this game. I've seen it. Every month, the Dark Dimension should have a new leaderboard. A monthly leaderboard. And the reward structure for the Dark Dimension leaderboard should be based on where that's cleared. So the people who are able to do a good Dark Dimension run or a fast Dark Dimension run for that month will get the best rewards. And then people who are just willing to do it will get a smaller pool of rewards. If it's anything, more people will go back and do content that you've already worked on for fun. You have these game modes done. Players want to use their rosters. At least this will give them an opportunity to play around with their characters, maybe invest, and honestly, maybe make you some money by someone maybe investing on the meta team for speedrunning Dark Dimension. Obviously, the rewards aren't going to be the same, and obviously, the whales or the people with the highest team power are going to be the absolute best case scenario. You can't have a minimum of 2 shards. I'll tell you that in a sec. Sorry, chat. Anyway, MBS Speedworks, right, is number 1 in this. If every month they reset the node, yes, somebody gets the most rewards. And we'll say the most rewards is 1 or like 2 gold orbs, a mega orb, and some orange gear elite orbs, right? And then every orb goes underneath it. And the bottom is like shards of a mega orb and stuff like that. The lowest case, like some half of a mega orb, a gold orb, and then like 2 orange gear orbs. If you make it scale to the point of what you're getting, obviously Dark Dimension 3 and Dark Dimension 4 could be Armory 14 and Armory 15 orbs. You have the stuff in place, make it a monthly event that players can go back into and try. This way the leaderboard actually means something other than where you can find people who are cheating. That's just me though. That's it for Dark Dimension. I really don't have to go into it. Oh, small thing. If you could just stop having offers pop up randomly, I would appreciate that greatly. Maybe at the beginning of the game it's totally fine, but it is what it is. Real-time arena. This game mode sucks and you can't save it. Because you want to have your cake and eat it too. You want all of the people who spend the most money in the game to feel like they're superheroes in PvP. But you also want players to do this game mode to progress in some way on something. It's called real-time auto by the community for a reason. We have leagues coming soon. No, we don't. You're not going to make leagues for this. No one's going to care. We have events coming soon. No, we don't. You would have done it by now. RTA sucks. Just period. You want to make RTA good? Balance it. Make the events and the leagues. Make the events based on what your roster has. Make RTA itself a completely balanced game mode. Is anyone spending money to be better in RTA? Specifically for that purpose? I don't think so. You guys tell me, Scopely. Are there, you see rosters like, wow, this guy's really working hard on the character we ban every 3rd week, Zemo. Yeah, no, people work on Zemo because Zemo's the shit. People don't work on Zemo because Zemo's good in RTA. People aren't getting the Infinity Watch team to win in RTA. They're getting the Infinity Watch team and winning in RTA. And I guarantee you, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that the second Doom is unlocked, ain't nobody buying this pass anymore. You want to make this game mode? Balance it. Every character, same as balanced draft. Same. Every character at a certain gear tier. Every character at gear tier 9, gear tier 7, whatever gear tier you want to say, is now balanced to the same rules. Max level, 7-star, 4 red. Every character. Let it play out that way. Let the game mode be skill. You have leagues and you have events. And you can have the leagues and the events that you're never going to come out with. Let players take advantage of the amount of money and effort they spend. Because right now, RTA is about the Mojo Pass, and the Mojo Pass is about progression. So letting people show up with 500, 600, my 500, 600k teams, and fight anybody who's trying to progress when all I'm trying to do is get my wins with my pretty shiny team, my Infinity Watch, my Kestrel, X Factor team, when all my astonishing X-Men, when all I'm doing is winning for the sake of winning and preventing people from progressing, you've created a dead game mode. Fix your game mode by balancing it out and letting the players fight the fights and making it matter whether they win or lose for victory. When you get to whatever events you're never going to make, whatever leagues you're never going to come up with, then you can start opening up the game to a leaderboard style who has the strongest stuff. That's the biggest thing. Anyway, RTA sucks, and I don't really want to talk about it anymore. It hurts my head and my soul. Generally speaking, I don't have a problem with the stores. The stores are fine. You've actually made a couple of changes to certain parts of the stores that I approve of. There are, however, couple of things. I'm not going to talk about this at all right now. The gold store is the gold store, right? Like, whatever. It is what it is. No big notes. I actually think the Blitz store is great. As it is. I think you get enough resources to work it out. I think every store should have a character added every 3 months. And that's just a rule. 180 days maximum between the last character added to a store and a new one. And you guys are actually pretty close to that. I don't know if that's a design or just what you're doing. But every 3 to 4 months, you know, like quarter or, you know, third of the year, every store should be updated with a new character. She-Hulk was added. No one cares. She-Hulk's garbage. You have these here. This is great. You added this here. This is great. I actually don't have a problem with the character prices in the Blitz store because Blitz orbs are cheaper and reasonable. So totally an acceptable thing. Raid store can use a little bit of love. I understand why you want us to only have access to 4 characters at a time. It's because you're garbage people and want people to waste their cores on refreshing instead of giving them access to the characters they want. And generally speaking, Raid store and Arena store characters are more important. Generally speaking. Yeah, that's still not enough. Like, 6 rows is more 6 rows is fine. It should be here's the rule. You should have a 50% chance of seeing the character you need to farm. That's it. If there are 8 characters in the raid orb, in the raid store, 4 is fine. There aren't 8. I don't even know how many there are. 12? 16, 17, 18 characters? Looks like there should be 9 character slots in the raid store. Sorry. I know you think that's unreasonable. You're stupid. It's reasonable as hell. Everybody, you should have at least 50% chance of seeing the character you want in the raid store, because that's how every other game does it. Like, you don't have to be unique and different in a way that screws the community over. You can be unique and different in a way that makes the community happy. I know it's a novel idea, and I'm sorry for saying it out loud, but come on, guys. You could fix this. As for the gear drops and everything, I really don't have a problem with the gear drops. Everything else is fine. It's really about the characters. Again, for me, not a single character in this store is there. This won't help me. This helps me in no way. If you add a new character in the store, it means nothing to me. They're probably already 7-star. I'm not speaking for me. I'm speaking for the experience of other players. It is unnecessary to have no options like that. And the same goes for the War Store as we move up. I don't have the time to explain how badly you screwed up Arena, but I'm going to make it really quick. Whatever metric you're using to decide what characters are 350 and 500 sucks. Whatever metric you're using to decide whether or not these are 975 or not sucks. Whatever told you that 800 was the correct amount for the Arena Orb sucks. This orb should never have gone over 600. Period. It was fine where it was. Everything else you can get in this orb, here, open one right now. Let's see how good this orb is. Garbage. 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 This is garbage. There wasn't even a chance for this to not be garbage. Do you understand that? If I didn't have any Human Torch shards, if I had 0 Human Torch shards, this is still garbage. This is garbage. Garbage. This orb is garbage. Why did you raise the price? Why did you make it exclusive? It's because too many people weren't spending resources. Most good game developers, when they look at something like this, when they see, hey man, why is everybody banking all of our resources? They don't create a game mode to force people to spend it. They make the store worth spending resources in. I'm not farming Red Guardian and Scream. Why? Because I haven't farmed them past 6, and this is how many I've gotten. So I don't care about 7-starring them at the cost. I'll just wait. I'll just wait. And I know I'm not the only one who plays like that. And I know most people will eventually balance that out. Most people, as they play, they might be like, I'm buying them right now because I want them up. Eventually, they're going to see it from my perspective, which is like, no. You messed up Arena. You messed up the Arena store. That doesn't even talk about the Arena reward structure, which needs to be updated because you just increased the amount of credits we have to spend, but have made no change to the income of what we were getting if we stayed the same. So that's not reasonable. But I get it. You want me to spend these. So if you want me to spend these resources, that tells me that these resources are going to become more and more relevant in the future, so I'm going to spend less of them. Every time you try to prevent someone from hoarding, you inform them of the path in which hoarding will benefit them. Every single time. So instead of trying to be smarter than the average player of a mobile game, which is not a feat, but for you guys, you are really making it look like a Herculean task. Instead, just make things rewarding. 975 for 10 shards. Same rule we said for the campaign before. Any character that you reduced in price, I don't care that you reduced them in price. These should be 10. These Sabretooth, Kree Oracle, 10 shards. Same price. Change nothing. Getting more of the character shards is more important. Blitz. Any minion, 10 shards. You need to start allowing players to get more of the earlier and older characters so that when they are doing the content that they have to be gated behind, they at least have stronger versions of characters for the same amount of effort. I actually have no notes on this store. This is the best store in the game. The economy of this store is great. Same rules apply though. You can definitely add 3 more rows. There should ever be you should have half as many slots as the total number of characters you can get. It should never be more than a 50% chance. It never be less than a 50% chance. Even if you do it every other time. Even if when there's an odd number of characters, you don't add the slot. That's fine. I'll accept it. You know what I mean? You have characters required for unlock in this. Why do I have to spend cores? I should want to spend cores. I shouldn't have to spend cores on doing this. And honestly, again, this doesn't affect me. All the characters here. So I'm not speaking for Tony complaining about what hurts Tony's feelings. I'm speaking about what the community, what's hurting the community, whether they know it or not. As for the gear stuff, everything here is fine. The changes you made here are fine. These don't even need to be here because there's no situation in which players need. Here, I'll save you time right here. Take all these blue gear slots and turn them into character slots. Easy. Easy. I just saved you time. Just turn these all into characters. Store is fine. Currency increase sucks, so like... But you're happy with the amount we're getting. So... I'm cool with the fact that I have to wait about 2.5 months after buying a 150 upgrade in order to buy another 150 upgrade. Or I could spend money and instead of waiting 2.5 months, wait 2 months. I'm really happy that the Chaos Theory event gives me 21 gold credits a day. And that totally over the course of the month, I could probably get another 10 to 15 for an item that I need to spend 100 of. That... I don't mind the scarcity. The scarcity is fine. But something's got to give. Either these costs are too high or we're not getting enough. You pick. It's up to you. Or make red star orbs reliable. There's like so many different ways you could fix this and you choose to be salty. The ISO store. I mean, you're giving us more ions, so there's really no notes. But it hurts to buy these. It hurts to... It hurts. Are we currently in the middle of a flood of resources? Like, you're giving us a ton of ion stuff? What you're giving us should be the standard, not an event. So all of the ions we're getting every day from random calendars and stuff, this is what we should be getting every single day. Because you've now made the game about using these resources, where before, these were a fun... luxury resource that allowed you to specialize your characters. Now they are required, and there's a downside in wasting them. But previously, the downside in wasting them was, oh, shucks. Now, huge downside. This is not even a store, right? We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to do this. The only thing in this store worth buying for any player is still Ultimus Orbs. Because Orange Catalyst and all these gear orbs cost too much. The supply store still has purple gear in it, and it costs too much. Nothing. And then we could just sit here and laugh about this store all you want. But as far as stores are concerned... whatever. Costumes don't matter. They're fun. So charge whatever you want for them, you know. Just you'd make a lot more players happy and probably a lot more sales by making them cheaper or making characters that players actually want. But that's up to you. So that's pretty much the state of the game right now. We have a blog post coming out either this week or next week with the roadmap for the rest. Let's see when that blog post goes live what of the issues that I've found in the game and that the community has articulated in the game are addressed, and let's see what made up issues they're creating and what fake hype. We already know about level 80 increase. We already know about we know a lot. We know about level 80 increase. We know about gear, gear tier 16. We know about Dark Dimension 5. Know about Dark Dimension 5. We know how you work. We know what's going to happen over the next couple months. We know you're going to sell us some raid characters. We know that you're going to make some more changes to raids. We know all of the things you're going to do because you follow the same format of let's do the bare minimum on these days and accomplish the same tasks. We know there's going to be tie-ins for the Eternal movie and whatever other Shang-Chi. We understand that's going to happen. So don't tell us that. Tell us what you're doing to improve the quality of the game. The people who are hyped about the game are also not reading the blog post. They're just hyped about the game. Start addressing the people who aren't, because these are the people who are vocally making YouTube videos, making content, advertising. And whenever time me, Mobile Gamer, Remen, make a video, Valley Flying, make a video talking about the quality of the game, that makes one less person play the game. Every time. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a good night. Have a great day. Be safe. Sorry for the long form of the video, but I'm trying to do more long form content. Hope we enjoy it. Comment below. Let me know if you do. Peace.